Coming up today on Put Them on the Couch, cats. Do they really always land on their feet? Meow, meow. The boys are back.
Their feet. It's
Jason
funny.
McCoy alongside my friend and co-host.
Nelson Boyer.
We are the cast of
Put Him on the Couch.
Cats Edition, Feline.
I've been begging you to do this one for a while,
Friends. Well,
buddy.
we've actually done it before, but we weren't exactly happy with the outcome. So therefore, we decided to roll again. And here it is, our second attempt at cats. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, we were going to do an episode on pets. I think you may remember Bob Brendan came on and gave us a really sad story about losing a pet. Turned out that was one of our most popular episodes, Nelson.
Yeah, well, people love these things.
But unfortunately, because we had a dogaholic on, he kind of dominated the discussion. We let him do his thing. I mean, what can you say? Bada boom, bada bing. We ended up with like 45, 50 minutes worth of discussion about dogs and maybe 5 like incidental minutes about other types of pets.
Yeah,
so
cats got short shrift.
Got short shrift. So we felt like, given the fact that cats are far superior to dogs,
Absolutely.
we would dedicate an entire episode to cats in the future. And well, here we are in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a big cat dad. Big cat dad.
So a cat daddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've
I wanted to get that on my license plate, and Amanda refused to let me. She's like, you can't have that.
Well, let me say something about these play on words, right? These literary or rhetorical devices. Have you ever thought about how and why and how often we use animal names or sort of hearken to animal sounds when we're talking about other things?
No.
For instance, like cat daddy, right?
Yeah.
Catty corner, right?
Okay.
Curiosity killed the cat. Think of all the ways you can sort of describe people, behavior, events, and how often you use the term cat or dog. Clever as a cat, right? And to me, it almost seems like cat, just in the way we use it in our expressions, our manners of speech, it almost seems as if it's kind of proof positive that cats are superior. Think about it. Can you think of many things that you use that has the word cat or kitten in it, where cat or kitten comes out on sort of the negative end? I can't. Cats
Can you
and
think
kittens
of any?
can be vixens, right? They can be seductive. They can be clever as a cat.
Sexy.
Cool as a cat.
Yep, that's true.
But now let's do dog. Work like a dog. You lie like a dog.
Lie like a dog, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You dirty dog. You're nothing but a dog.
Yeah.
Oh, my dogs are barking if your feet are tired.
Right. Or don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Bark up the wrong tree
Don't
because you're
bark up the wrong
dumb, right?
tree. That's right.
But we don't say, don't cat up the wrong tree. Don't meow up the wrong tree. Because you know what? Cats are too clever for that.
Do you prefer cats to dogs?
I do, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely do. I was never really that big a cat person. I was more of a dog person. Mm-hmm. And then I got my first cat. And
that was that.
It's never been the same. Yeah, never been the same.
Well, I knew that I loved cats when I read Dr. Seuss's Cat in the Hat book. You know, Dr. Seuss doesn't have a dog in the Hall book,
Right.
right? And as a kid, I loved Dr. Seuss, so I mean, I think he set me on the course.
Yeah, but that was a bad cat.
I don't care.
That actually was a bad cat.
But even bad cats are good cats.
Yeah, that's true.
Again, they remind you of how smart they are, even if they're a little bit.
Well, they're very independent. They're very independent.
So I've heard. You know, cats don't need affection because they're independent. They're the loners. But don't you think that's a myth? I mean, they might enjoy more independence than some other cats, right? Or than some other pets, excuse me. But wouldn't you say they still crave and enjoy your affection?
I would. And I think people do a disservice to cats by comparing them to dogs and you know, vice versa.
Right.
We're comparing two wild animals. Like we don't compare warthogs to anteaters to snakes. I mean, they're just different animals. We evaluate them and study them based on warthogs or based on snakes or anteaters.
So we need our own. They need their own set of criteria.
They do, but they've often been ignored or their importance has been diminished when it comes to study, when it comes to veterinary medicine, looking at what the specific needs of the animal are, what the intelligence of the animal is, what it's capable of being. We're way behind when it comes to cat psychology versus dog psychology.
Yeah, it sounds almost like the conversation we're going to have later in the week about masculinity, femininity, right?
That's right.
This idea of equity versus equality regarding the sexes. And so I guess you might
we'll
say
play
we could,
Russian roulette with our careers by talking about
with our
gender,
podcasting careers.
yeah.
I don't know how we can make any less money or be any less effectual.
Yeah, well, you never know.
Well, I feel like cats are making a comeback. I mean, not that they've ever completely gone away. I feel like there's sort of some newfound love and attention being given to cats lately. You've heard of CatGPT, right, ladies and gentlemen?
Oh, God. Is there a CatGPT?
CatGPT. You've got to check out CatGPT sometimes. There's also cat dating apps. I mean, can you imagine if you were
jump on a dating app? Like for people who like cats, or like for the
both.
cats to date?
I think you can actually have cats that date. I think you can actually role play like you're in Comic-Con or something.
Oh,
pretend
God.
to be a furry.
No, I'm
now,
good.
I've got to ask. If you were on a cat dating app, right? You were to pretend like you're a cat and you are looking for another cat, right? You're just kind of role playing. What would your profile look like and sound like? Have you thought about your profile?
I have not actually thought about
would
a potential
you be
cat
like
dating
just
profile.
a tomcat that like just cruises the streets, or would you
like
be
Alexander Hamilton?
Yeah, or would you be more of that cat from the Aristocrats?
I think I'd be more of the tomcat type. Not necessarily a player, but not necessarily looking for anything serious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't need to commit to anything. We'll see. Hey, we'll see where love takes us.
I'm wondering if I would be a larger type cat, or would that get me in trouble? Would people say
like a
I'm toxic?
Mancoon?
Yeah, am I toxic? Is there too much toxic masculinity wrapped into that?
I would like to be one of those Bengal cats. Those things look cool. I like those patterns.
And could you be cool? Could you be cool without your claws? Like if you were a cat,
I wouldn't.
Would you
get rid
announce
of my
that you
claws.
got declawed?
No.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be by yourself. You would be with an owner, and the owner would let you, get on the dating app. And the owner, like me, I've gotten my cats declawed. If you can believe that, I know.
You
terrible.
did.
Yeah,
you did.
They were just tearing up the house. And so I'm wondering, like, if my boy cat Fiji were wanting to get on a dating app, would he announce to the female cat world, "Hey, ladies, looking for a gentle touch"?
No,
Look
I don't think so.
I don't have claws.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
He'd have to
I don't
keep
think
that
it would
quiet,
be an evolutionary advantage to. Yeah, I think the girls would be like, okay,
do you
weird.
think that I may have robbed him of some of his sort of sense of security and masculinity when
Yes,
I declawed? Really?
definitely.
What about for the female
Yes.
Blissa? Do you think?
Yes.
You think she?
Yeah,
too
you're not
misses-
supposed to declaw cat. Like, I think isn't it against the law?
I think in some parts of Wilmington it is, but apparently
In some parts?
because
In
apparently
some
the vet
parts of
that I
Wilmington?
used were like, yeah, give me $500 each and I'll rip them out.
What?
I know
Those poor cats.
know, yeah,
But I mean, they are again, they're a difficult pet, right? I mean,
Yeah.
each animal has its own challenges, and with cats, it's the claws.
Yeah, it's the claws.
And you got to make sure they have those outlets to, scratch, to climb. They're
Well, I've heard that they're natural acupuncturists. Do you know if that's
it's 100% true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So every time like our cat gets on my lap,
it needs or meads.
yeah, it makes biscuits.
Yeah.
Little biscuit
Now
making.
mine do
I
the
don't
same
know.
thing, but without claws.
See, that must be nice.
It doesn't feel too bad.
That must be nice. But they're very, they're a unique animal in that, there's only, we mentioned this on our last podcast, there aren't that many animals that we can domesticate.
No.
And interestingly enough, cats are the only one that we have domesticated for companionship.
Well, some people argue, I mean, I don't know who these some people are, but I've heard that cats may have domesticated us, maybe the other way around. What have you heard that? And
With
what-
dogs, I've heard that. With cats, it doesn't seem too likely.
I mean, they do seem to have a mind of their own, don't they?
They do. I mean, look, we are
They
living.
don't seem as trainable, in my opinion. I mean, they go to the potty on their own. I mean, they
Yeah, you don't have to train a cat to use a litter
right.
box.
In
They'll
fact,
just
I'm
use a
not even
litter
sure
box.
that they are trainable. Do you really see cats on leashes walking around the neighborhood with people? I feel like,
Rarely,
you know,
rarely. There are some, and our listeners can take a look at some of these on YouTube. There's Rusty. He's got his own Instagram account. He's got his own TikTok. Rusty is a cat that lives on a yacht. He lives on a sailing yacht. So
now, does he have any jobs on that yacht?
he
Just keep
he
it
is
clear?
aquatically trained. They threw him off. They taught him how to swim.
And he goes
to
and gets
climb
fish
back
for
up.
them?
I know he doesn't get
that'd be
fish for
pretty
him, but
cool.
they threw him off
He'll
just
dive
in
for
case
pearls.
he falls in.
Nice.
There's a cat that lives in Wilmington somewhere. His name is Stone, and Stone sometimes goes into Java Dog. Shout out to our purveyors of coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
So Stone
Kinda
will
just
go.
pops in.
Yeah, he'll go on a leash.
No, okay.
Yeah, he'll go on a leash.
Interesting.
Stone has got 2 owners who take good care of him, and you can leash a cat. You can do, but again, aren't we trying to compare them to dogs? Is that what they want to do?
I
mean,
do you think cats are afraid of dogs?
No,
I don't feel like
Not at
mine
all.
are.
Not
I
at
mean,
all.
every now and then my dogs will chase my cats, but more often than not, my cats will just sort of turn, stare them down, and not back down.
I think one of the most interesting things about cats, and the reason that you get so many cool videos, so many funny moments with your cat, is because they are at once a predator and prey. And it's unique to their size. I will also say that pound for pound, they're probably one of the most
heavyweight champions,
efficient,
aren't they? Yeah.
one of the most efficient animals, and I'm talking about the domesticated house cat.
Yeah,
It's one of the most efficient animals in the world.
Yeah, they kill first of all, they kill for sport. We know that. Not that other animals don't, but we know they kill for sport. I know they kill a greater variety of species.
Yeah, and they
than
definitely
pretty much anything else.
They definitely they don't mind, giving to their loved ones. Your cats. You said your cats kill without
My
claws.
cats kill without claws. Yeah, after I have to admit, after we got them declawed and we thought they were going to be indoor cats, my boy cat started just begging to go outside. So we would go out with him, but then it got to the point where anytime the kid would go outside, he would just jump out the door. I mean, he was so desperate to get outside, he was pushing through my screen windows, breaking the screens out to get outside, in the summertime when we'd open or in the spring when we'd open the windows. So finally we were just like, you know what, we messed up, but we're just going to let him go out. He doesn't go too far usually, but sometimes I have to admit, man, and this is not easy to say, but he doesn't come home at night. And I do get really nervous in the night thinking he's out there competing and fighting and really trying to stay alive without claws. But then I remember he's a cat. He's fast, he's wily, he's clever, he's smart, he's beautiful, and he does have back claws. He does have back
so he can
claws.
turn around and give you a
So he
kick.
can turn around and give you that donkey kick. But no, I do feel badly about that because I realize how much he needs those claws now that he's outside. Now, having said all that, he does kill quite a few things still and bring them to the house. Or sometimes he kills things around the house like mice or rats and leaves them there. And I know it's him. I know it's him doing the business. He's even picked a couple fish out of the pond across the way here and brought them up to the porch.
Jeez.
So he's not bad. He's not bad.
No kidding. Well, and I think that might be where the domestication process started with cats. In 2021, we found in Cyprus a full cat skeleton buried next to a human being. So we're pretty sure that this was a pet. And it pushed the date back of cat domestication 5,000 years.
Oh, wow.
We used to think cats were domesticated in Egypt. And Egyptians obviously, believed that cats had magical powers. And when I say that, I don't want to diminish beliefs because it seems kind of like silly magic. And,
Oh yeah, back in the dark ages.
For Egyptians, the world ran partly on magic, and cats were really, really a big part of this. We found cemeteries where they've mummified cats. That was very popular. A lot of pet cemeteries. So cats played a very, very important role in Egypt. And I laugh thinking about what an Egyptian coming back to the United States in 2024 might think about their beliefs. And they might look at some of our internet videos. They might look at the number of cats that we allow to live among us and think, yeah, damn straight.
Yeah.
Nailed that, didn't we?
Or they might say, God, these people are crazy. They've taken this too far.
Well, do you know-
really cats purrs have powers, like healing powers. Cats' tails really signal,
I've heard that. I've heard
signal
that
a secret
the
language.
purr actually
Reduces stress and anxiety.
reduces stress
Yeah, I think
for
that's-
them, but also for us.
Yeah, I've even heard that it assists in the healing of bones and tissues and burns for victims of serious
I've never heard
accidents.
that before.
Isn't that interesting? Which it does make some sense. The sound that the purr makes might resonate in the brain in such a way to relieve stress. I don't think there's any magic to that. if you think about it, there's certain types of music, certain types of tempos.
Yeah, I've heard something about the frequency of the purr that's
makes
just
sense to
very
me.
pleasant,
Soothing and pleasant. Maybe helps release those.
I got to
feel-good
tell you,
chemicals.
that is one aspect that, again, I don't
Never
wanna,
heard a barking dog reduce anyone's stress, by the way.
Oh, I hate that sound.
Yeah, of course.
Oh my God, when they're sitting there at the front door.
Just barking.
Oh my God. Cat just meows and comes up. And I think that was one of the things that I found most pleasing about becoming a cat dad. Was, people don't understand their communication style, and I think that really,
No, because I think they put it on you to do the work.
Yeah,
right? They're not going to.
I think that leads to that idea that they're independent, they don't
easy,
care. They're easy. Oh, they do care. They care very much. They just they talk a very different language, and you really have to
be patient.
Yep, you really have to figure out what they're trying to communicate with you.
100%. I agree with that. I believe that. I do believe that cats need affection. I do believe that they have a language. I don't know that it's that secret. I mean, it needs a little bit of decoding, and I think part of that is because we haven't spent a lot of we haven't put a lot of emphasis. We haven't put a lot of resources towards understanding cats. Maybe owners historically haven't put a lot of effort into understanding them because they assume cats are one way. And, again, back to my own misunderstanding about cats. I used to think the cats were going to be easy. And they are if you are willing to just set them and forget them.
Yeah, you can do that.
But that's a form of neglect. And I mean, why would you want a companion animal if you're going to do that, right? So yeah, I too try to get to know them. And what I've learned anecdotally is at least is that, yeah, they do have expressions. They do have feelings. They do have a temperament. They are sometimes in better moods than others. And just realizing that they are complex animals, just as complex as dogs or even humans, I think makes for a better relationship and makes for a more interesting sort of, in my opinion, home. I will say that scientists have discovered some interesting things lately. I read a couple articles this week about cats and the new science. 346 different facial expressions. Didn't realize that, my friend.
I didn't.
I always joked about how cats look the same no matter how they feel. I think the first time we did this several months ago, I was joking about that. But since then, I've read that scientists have found 346 morphological differences in the face of a cat, the different ways in which
they don't. That's surprising because I know they don't have nearly as many facial muscles as dogs do, so they can't be as expressive.
Ears, they use their eyes,
definitely.
They use their mouth, their neck. I mean, they use a combination of things in and around their head. Another thing that was pretty cool was that you've heard this before, I'm sure, that cats. Again, I think it gets back to that. They don't have a connection with their owners the way dogs do, or at least so dog owners will tell you, that they somehow don't, they're not as smart, or they don't recognize your voice maybe like a dog would.
Yeah, that's not true.
But that's not true at all.
That's not true at all.
New research suggests that they recognize their owner's voice.
Yes,
maybe
they do.
as quick or quicker in some circumstances than the owners of dogs recognize theirs. So.
Yeah, they've also done studies where they put a cat into a new environment and they let the cat explore on its own, and it's very concerned. Obviously, it's very cautious. It's a cat. And then when it is introduced into that environment with its owner, it really takes on a level of comfort and confidence that it lacked before. So they definitely do have a confidence and a comfort from their humans. They definitely take something from that relationship, and it's very important to the animal. They also know their own names.
Yeah.
They don't know. Let me back up. Just like with dogs, we don't know if a dog is identifying itself as,
that name.
Yeah, as Max or whatever. But we don't know if the cat does. But we know that the name is special to the cat.
Oh yeah, they know that when they hear that name, it's a reliable indicator that something is going to happen, that they become able to predict, right? Whether that be good or bad, right? If I say my dog's name and then I yell at my dog afterwards, my dog's learning something about that name,
right?
Or if I say, "Hey, come here, dog," and I pet my dog or give my dog a treat, he will learn that there's something that's stands for that name.
Then there's the slow blink that they do, right?
Yeah, I've heard different things about the slow blink, that the slow blink indicates that they're happy, they're content, that they trust you. The idea is that if they're closing their eyes while you're looking at them, then they must be trusting you, or else why would they sort of turn a blind eye to you? my understanding is that they blink at different rates and they blink at different amounts. So a full blink might be closing the eyes completely, but sometimes they do more of a half blink. I'm not really sure exactly what all of the blinks mean. Likewise, I'm not sure what all of the different movements of the tail mean. But yeah, I mean, it does stand to reason that they would have nonverbal behavior. Why wouldn't they? Every other animal
forget
that has
nonverbal
appendages have nonverbal.
Forget nonverbal for a minute, and let's move on to verbal, because
The purrs and
the purrs and the cry, and
yeah.
the cat cry to me is just one of the most
Cat
fascinating
cries. The
things.
caterwaul, the whale.
Yeah, that's one of the most fascinating sounds that any animal can make, because they make it specifically for human beings.
Must be, because
Cats
it sounds
do
exactly
not-
like an infant sometimes.
Now,
doesn't it?
I've heard that too. I don't know to
I
what
notice
extent
it. My
that is
cats do it.
true. That they've patterned their cry after the cry of an infant.
Well, I mean, it definitely gets my wife out of the bed in the morning to get my cat.
Oh,
fed
I
or to
wake
get-
up.
Yeah,
But they don't cry in the wild to each other.
they don't.
They do not.
I didn't know that.
They do not cry in the
so
wild
again,
to each
who's
other.
domesticated whom, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really quite brilliant for an animal to adapt to its environment in such a way that it creates its own sound.
And what does that say about us? We're suckers. I mean, why don't they do it in the wild? Not because they can't, but because apparently
need
other
to.
animals don't respond to it.
Right,
But we
but
do.
they're like, woo, look at these idiots.
Look at these idiots. They'll do it.
Yeah, and
funny.
again, the only human benefit besides companionship is, and it's not a small benefit, but the elimination of rodents in the living environment certainly is of an immense benefit, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
so-
If you've got animals in general living with you early in life, my understanding is that it does actually prepare your immune system to fight off allergens and other things later in life. So we know that about pet dander with respect to dogs. I'm not sure if there's any research on cats. We should ask a vet to stop in sometime
And ask us
give us some information about that. But yeah, like if you have cats when you're very, very young, is it possible that you will be able to withstand the bombardment of allergies later in life?
That's a
that
good
are
question.
related to not just the cats themselves, but the things that the cats get into. I will say, Nelson, there is one downside to having a cat, and that is that cats carry a very nasty protozoan called Toxoplasma gondii, and cats have been implicated in spreading this protozoan into the bloodstream of humans. And one of the nastiest not side effects, but one of the nastiest possible connections is that of a mental illness known as schizophrenia.
Really?
So there are people that are much smarter than me that have been studying this link between Toxoplasma gondii, this parasite, for lack of a better word, and schizophrenia, the development of schizophrenia in utero.
Well, hey,
while you're pregnant with your child.
There's a negative connotation, a cat scratch fever.
Cat scratch fever.
Right, there's
that's
one
true.
negative connotation.
Yeah. But generally speaking, I mean, even the scratch is considered a good thing. Like if you're a DJ who scratches, I mean, that's a good thing.
Have you ever been scratched by your back claws of your kitty?
Oh, yeah.
A cat scratch hurts.
Yeah.
Oh, that can hurt.
I'm fascinated by them though. Like I've never had to bathe a cat.
Very clean
I've
animal.
never smelled my cat and thought, God, you stink, because they are fastidious. They are just relentless, scrupulous, if you will, about cleaning themselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not like they sit around and lick themselves all day like dogs do. They must do it more effectively or more efficiently than dogs. I don't notice my cats doing it that
I know
often.
they say it's pleasing. That
Yeah.
it's something that they do to relax. A nice
But
bath.
It's fantastic. My cats always smell wonderful. My dogs, not so much.
Yeah, but a litter box does smell pretty bad.
The litter box can. You're absolutely right. But we get that really high price litter.
Yeah,
Man.
we
My
do the
wife
same
is
thing.
always on it too, man.
We did the same thing because we started with one cat, and it was a perfect cat. It was
Yeah.
the perfect animal.
You're the crazy cat keepers, aren't you?
Yeah, but
How many you have
this is
now? You got
interesting.
3?
Now we got four cats. We got 4 cats.
Is it true that once you go beyond 3, it doesn't matter how many you have? It's
I
kind of
don't.
like kids,
I
do
don't
you think?
know. I know. I don't want 5.
Right, but could you do 5?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Like, where's that line before you two agree that, man, we've gone crazy? This
I
is a little
think
much.
5. I mean, I'm
Go
going
from
to
just
put it
being-
at 5
go
because I'm
from-
at 4.
Go from
But
being
maybe-
just a cat obsessed addict to a hoarder.
Yeah, but it's interesting. We have more cats in our population than dogs. You know that?
Oh yeah.
And there's, I know I'm talking about,
But not in homes, right? Or
no,
is it
in homes.
In homes, even.
Yeah, because most cat
figured we'd have more
owners
feral
have,
cats.
we do have a lot of
But
feral
most
cats.
owners have at least two.
Here's the interesting thing. If a cat does not interact regularly with a human by a certain stage of development, let's call it 16 weeks, you will never have that cat in your house. You would never want that cat in your house.
Yeah.
They don't adapt. They're very close. And it's fascinating. I feel like we live with 4 wild animals.
Yeah.
They're not all that far removed from their ancestors.
Yeah,
their wild ancestors.
You never have a chance to forget that they're not completely domesticated, right? There's nothing.
No, not
like you don't go through a
really.
whole day without thinking, yeah, these things are wild. These things are a little feral still.
Yeah.
I don't ever think they're going to kill me, probably because they're not. It's not maybe in their physical makeup to kill me, especially since I ripped their claws out. But I do believe that they keep me on my toes, right? Like
Absolutely.
There's no way to know for sure how many times I can pet my cat Fiji without getting slapped. Like there's just no way to know it. And he'll slap me.
Could be
and
3,
then I'll
could be 5.
I'll react really quickly and push him back, and he'll fall off the couch. And I'm thinking, oh, he won't come back for a while because he's scared of me. 5 seconds later, he's purring him back up around me. And I'm like, dude, I just knocked you off the couch after you scratched me, after I pet you twice. And now you want more love? And so, yeah, then I might be able to pet him for an hour before he scratches me again. Dogs, not so much. Dogs are a little bit more predictable. It's like they come over, they lay beside you, and most dogs will let you just rub them until they have no hair left if you want. But cats,
not Joe Biden's dog.
Well, no.
Did you see Commander bit somebody 24 times? I'm sorry, but they rehomed it. That dog, if it was any other dog, would be dead.
If I'm a Secret Service agent, I can find another gig. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I mean, it's one thing to be the president's Secret Service agent and put your life on the line, right? But it's
not
another
against
to
this
get bit
puppy
every single day. Hey, back to this cat communication. You were talking about the wailing and the crying and whatnot to communicate what they want. I want to talk just a minute about purring before we get to a break. Have you heard that purring actually is more connected mechanically to a snore than it is anything else? That we believe the purring is more unconscious most of the time, just like snoring is for humans when we sleep.
Really? No, I had not heard that.
Now, I don't think it means that the purr is an indication of like apnea or that the cat's getting too obese. Although I will say I've got a cat that's borderline obese, and she does purr an awful lot. We have a cute way of saying it, though. We say, oh, her engine's running. Yeah.
Well, you know how they do this? The larynx and the vocal cords vibrate at a very... It has been something that people are fascinated by. They don't really know why or
it's
how
their version
it's
of
making
vibrato,
it.
Like a singer, like Florence and the Machine.
It's certainly, to me, and I think to any cat parent, it's one of the absolute joys of having one of these things.
Well, speaking of joys, Nelson, I want to talk about some new technologies and some new sort of things on the frontier that I've been talking to my wife about in particular that I find fascinating and I think will be much more joyous after we make some of these purchases on the other side.
Yeah, let's do it.
And we're back. You're listening to Put 'em on the Couch with Jason McCoy and my friend and co-host, Nelson Boyer. We've been talking about cats, ladies and gentlemen. Who are these weird, fuzzy feline creatures, and why do we love them so much? And, what makes somebody a cat person over a dog person? Are cats really smarter than dogs? I mean, we think so here on the show. I would love to hear what you think. Give us a shout. Give us an email at putemonthecouch@gmail.com or respond to one of my Facebook posts if you don't mind. Look, we have not, nor may ever not, earn any money for this podcast, and that's fine because we've got the support and love of listeners just like you. And honestly, one thing we love about your listenership is we love to hear your feedback, particularly positive feedback, if and whenever possible. So look, it may seem like a small thing, but anytime you can go to Spotify or Apple or any of the other sound hosts that you listen to Put 'em on the Couch through, if you can give us a rating, if you can give us a review, man, that'll go even further than dollars. And as long as we can keep getting love and we can keep rising through the ranks of these charts, we can keep creating these podcasts, at least for the near future. All right?
The foreseeable future.
Yeah. So please, if you don't mind, interact with us, especially give us a rating, give us a review on Apple or Spotify.
Now, before you get into all of these
the high-tech
products and the
stuff, some of
high-tech
these
stuff,
products
I
I've been
did
thinking
want to ask you about the names of your cats. How did you come up with Fiji and what's the other one's name?
Blissa. Yeah,
Melissa?
so I think like most animal names, if you have kids who are in the mix when you bring these things into your house, you can't help but to give them the right for naming them. So that's what happened fundamentally. My daughter and son wanted Blissa for one of the cats. So my fat girl cat, who, by the way, is so innocent and so just, her temperament is such that she would never scratch you no matter how you touched her or picked her up. She's just so docile and so just whatever, would never go outside. My kids wanted her to be Blissa. I don't think they even knew why. But later on, we're watching, I don't know, Netflix or something, and we see Barbie and her cat, and Barbie calls her cat Blissa. And I'm wondering if my kids had sort of kind of unconsciously remembered that from being kids watching it. My wife pushed for Fiji, I think. She's got this thing with naming her animals after these destination spots that she wants to go to, travel to, right? These touristy trap spots like Maui and Fiji and Oahu and Samoa, excuse me.
I like it.
Anyway, yeah. So we have dogs now. We've got a dog named Mango and Peaches. My wife wanted to name, I think, one of the dogs one of those South Pacific islands.
Okay.
But one of our neighbors had already named their cat or dog one of those, so we didn't. But yeah, we had a dog named Maui who recently died. And so, yeah. But normally it's, I think the kids probably do the most naming. I'm not sure. What about you guys?
Well, I'm fine with any name except human names for animals. That pisses me off.
Well, I will say my own research has indicated that the more human connection you have with your animals, the more money, for instance, the more you allow your animals to do, the more free range you give them in the house, the crazier and the more obsessed and the more stupid your decision making becomes. Right? I think we've talked about this before. How much money would be too much to spend on a pet who is dying?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out from some of my actual academic research that if you name your dog a proper noun, you are more likely to be more committed and therefore spend more money and make more personal sacrifices than if you give them a common noun. So,
well, I'll tell you, we came up with...
so like make-believe names are probably going to be better than Joe or John. Yeah, you don't want to humanize them.
Because then you'll spend more money on them.
Yeah.
We have, like I said, we got 4. Mm-hmm. And when we lived in Germany, we always wanted to name our animal, any animal that we got, we were going to name it Broochen.
Okay.
So we get our cat, black cat, and was the name. We went with Broochen. Well, Broochen was a great cat, but
and this is before you had kids.
No, we had kids.
Okay.
We had a 2 and a 3-year-old.
Okay.
So they picked him out. We were so lucky to find them. He was at PetSmart. He was just in their cages. They let the cats out for a little bit. Our kids were there. Like, okay, let's look at the cats. And he had a blue collar on, and that was it. They're like, he's perfect. He's got a blue collar.
Oh, yeah, he had the working class cat.
Yeah, he hated that collar, too. We got rid of it before, like the day he got home. He was like, he was going to choke on the damn thing. So we named him Broochen, and like you were saying, like they actually need more than people realize. And this cat had really bad separation anxiety. Mm-hmm. So we would go away for a week, and he was a mess. So he had goop in his eyes and all the stress. So we had to get him another cat.
Okay.
And so, many, many years later, like 6 years after we got him, we got a girl cat who's a tortoiseshell cat, and we named her Fromage. Broochen is a German bread. Fromage is a cheese.
Okay.
Obviously, it's French cheese. So that was the new rule. The girls in the house would always be named after cheeses. The boys would be breads. So the next boy cat is another black cat named Brezel, German pretzel. And the other boy is Pita, as a pita bread. Mm-hmm. And then the other girl that we got, a gray cat, is named Feta.
Isn't that amazing?
So that's where we're at. I don't know. I think we're kind of run our course.
Yeah.
With breads and cheeses. I'm trying to think of like other breads.
Yeah, you might have to go to sausages or something.
Something.
My fat cat would be perfect for like bratwurst or something.
Yeah, so that's sort of our cat names.
So let me just set the stage for you regarding this this technology.
We probably have some of this stuff.
Yeah, probably do. So you've heard stories of cats. The fact that they seem to like enjoy moving about through nature, right?
Sure.
They like to meander about away from home, sometimes leaving and not returning for days, weeks, even months. I mean, you don't really ever know as such if your cat is lost or if your cat's just like taking an extended vacation. According to the Lost Pet Research Project, there were reports of cats traveling 50 to 80 miles in a 2.5-year span.
Wow.
38 miles in 6 months, 30 miles in 10 days, 20 miles in 21 days. So, if your cat's lost, you might not want to put up that sign. He might just be, again, taking a real long vacation.
God.
And I think about this kind of stuff often because, again, my cat goes out every morning. And then a few minutes to an hour later, I'm leaving to take my kids to school and then for me to go to work. And we will routinely see our cat at the end of our street, maybe 300 yards away. And he'll just be lying around in someone's front yard or on someone's front porch. And I routinely talk to my wife about this. I'm like, I'm so worried that something bad's going to happen to Fiji. You've heard me make fun of that before whenever you're leaving my house.
Oh, yeah.
I'll say things like, man, my cat's getting pimped out down the road. He doesn't have claws to defend himself. I bet other cats are making him do all kinds of weird things, do kind of dirty work. Go steal that cat food off that person's porch for us, And he can't say no. But my wife was saying, well, it's pretty cool that we live in a middle-class neighborhood where maybe there won't be any kind of like real dangers for the cat. Well, then
birds. There's plenty out there.
But then I start thinking, how cool would it be? I said, I don't know how far my cat really will go or has gone. Like, has my cat ever made it to the park? Has my cat ever made it across Gordon Road? Like, how many miles has my cat ever wandered? How many houses has my cat ever wandered into? Like, what kinds of places and people and things has he gotten into in this very short year and a half he's been alive? And my wife said, yeah, I've never thought about that. I'm like, you've never thought about how far Fiji wanders? And wouldn't it be cool if we could track him? And she's like, nah, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. It's as a scientist and as also just a curious cat owner.
You want to know where he went?
I want to know where he's going. And I want to know if we put a tag on my boy and girl cat, would the boy cat necessarily go further? And would a cat that's been spay or neutered go further or less far than one who hasn't?
Yeah,
Does Fiji almost know?
Imagine.
Do you think Fiji knows that he's vulnerable, so therefore he's now subconsciously going, or maybe consciously not going as far because he doesn't have the front claws? I mean, these are testable scientific questions. And, there are companies who have and continue to promote GPS systems for your cat. We believe that cats have a GPS system in their head already.
Oh, certainly.
So they know where they're going and they can keep up with it. But God, I was thinking about these air tags. You could just put one on your cat's collar and just track it around.
See where it went.
And how cool would this be as sort of a piece of, I don't know, we could start a business, I was thinking, where we could track people's cats for them, right? And print out these maps for them and they could just, how funny would that be, man?
That'd be pretty cool.
Give it as a Christmas present, right? Like, give this to your kid. Hey, look where your cat's gone this year.
That'd be pretty cool.
I don't know.
We have one. We have a cat in our neighborhood who comes and goes and has for years.
Mm-hmm.
We just named him Tom, but Thomas. He just comes and goes, and we can't figure out. Every once in a while, you'll see on our neighborhood page, like, "Hey, where whose cat is this?" And we just respond, "It's Thomas." That's just the cat. He doesn't want a home. The world is his oyster, you know what I mean? So I wonder how far he's traveled because he has been gone for months at a time.
Well, I've got one for you, a story out of Florida. You've heard Florida Man, right?
Oh, yeah.
Wow,
this
Florida cat?
Florida
Cat.
Oh, God.
The article's entitled, "A House Cat's Long Distance Journey Raises New Questions About How Animals Navigate." This is from animal.com. This is 12.
And it's Florida, too.
11,
that cat had
11
to
or
do some
12 years
serious
ago.
damage.
It says, when a battered, skinny tortoiseshell cat wandered into a yard in Florida earlier this year, again, speaking from 2013, she could have been any other stray, but she was nothing of the kind. She carried an implanted microchip, one put there by a loving owner, and it revealed an intriguing story. The cat belonged to a local family, had been lost on a trip 2 months earlier, and had traveled, guess how many miles?
I don't know. It's like 200 miles.
200 miles.
200
Absolutely.
miles?
2 months, 200 miles.
Oh, man.
In that time to arrive back in her hometown. The journey inspired a spate of articles looking at an explanation for this one cat, and a few others who've made similar trips managed such impressive feats of navigation. The response from many eminent animal researchers was the same. No idea.
Wow.
So we know We have
That's
an
an
idea
impressive-
regarding like they must have some kind of internal compass and
Yeah, they don't
something
get
like
lost.
magnetite like the birds
yeah.
do, but we don't know exactly how and why. We just
Yeah,
don't know exactly.
they it's funny. Here we are, right? 10,000 years since we first domesticated the cat, and they still fascinate us. They are still endlessly fascinating animals. There's so much that we don't know about them. And I'm going to tell you something else too. And this is factual, and I think you could probably speak to this. I just know it because I read it in, I can't remember where I read it, but it said that cats are cuter than dogs. Cats are more pleasing to look at than dogs because their faces are more symmetrical. That we just are more naturally drawn
To symmetry?
to a cat.
Well, we're
face than a dog
definitely
face.
drawn to things that are symmetrical, particularly faces. I know infants in particular are drawn to faces that are symmetrical, so that wouldn't surprise me. Hey, look, I mean, we're put them on the couch. You're listening to Jason McCoy and Nelson Bowyer, your host, and today we're talking about cats. We're in Wilmington, North Carolina, Nelson. Most people already know where we are if they listen to this podcast. Some may not. But I have another story I wanted to share with you. This is just based on some research from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, right up the road from us. It says that sea turtles, for instance, they don't simply tell north from south, right? According to experimentation led by Kenneth Lohman, a professor of biology at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, they're actually born knowing a magnetic map of the entire ocean.
That's cool.
Newly hatched loggerhead turtles in the populations, Lohman studies, journey 8,000 miles immediately after being hatched around the Atlantic Ocean to reach feeding areas. And if they don't keep right on track, they would never survive. So not only do they stay on track, but they make it to where they're going and can make it back later, right? Like, amazing. We see these hatchlings happen here off the coast of North Carolina, right down here at our beaches all the
that's
time.
cool.
And there's a big hubbub about, oh, don't use too much light and don't crowd them. And, oh, my God, how are they going to make it to the water? They're so little and things could eat them. And then once they're in the water, have you ever noticed everybody just like takes a big sigh of relief? And I'm like thinking to myself,
They got a ways
you're
to
sending
go.
them into the ocean.
Yeah.
They got to travel 8,000 miles just to get to their feeding area.
That's why they have so many hatchlings, right? That's why they have so many eggs.
But they have an amazing
Most of them
sense
don't make
direction.
it. Oh, yeah, for sure. For
It's
sure.
just incredible, right? There's so much we don't know about some of the most seemingly simple creatures. You know?
Yeah, it's true. That's definitely true.
We know we don't know a lot about humans, but we've dedicated a lot of our time and a lot of our history to studying it.
Well, a lot of times when you don't know about something, it's easy for rumor or for fear to
just
filter in.
fill the space.
And so, I think we should wrap up here by talking about some of the fears that people have about cats and some reasons for cats in the occult.
That's fine by me. I thought maybe we could do that maybe with a new section we like to call Cat or Fiction.
All right, let's do it.
So I'll give you one, and then you can give me one.
Okay.
All right? Cat or fiction? Cats always land on their feet because they have a special anti-gravity ability.
That's fiction.
That's fiction. You're right.
That's fiction.
Give me one of the occult ones.
Okay. Well, I was just more curious as to, I wanted to have a discussion about why people are so afraid of these
you want to get
animals.
into
the
pedantic
occult.
intellectual discussion linking cats and the occult. I see.
Well, why do you,
Witches and
why
the
do you think
occult.
people are so afraid of these things?
Well, I think if you remember from our Halloween episode, there have been stories across the world that connect witches and warlocks and other kind of strange ghost-like creatures around the harvest or around Halloween, right? And cats. And then, of course, they just kind of get superstitiously commingled, right? The cat may be possessed by the demon or the demon may be possessed by the cat. So I feel like in many ways the cat has become a symbol of superstition.
Absolutely.
But I don't know if there's any necessary hard evidence connecting the cat to anything sinister. Again, other than maybe helping us knock out the plague.
Yeah. Well, actually, do you know that in the years preceding the Black Death and its outbreak in Europe, the Catholic Church, was serious about reducing the cat population and connecting cats, to pagan traditions, to sorcery, to witchcraft. And so in certain places, certainly throughout Italy, in England, cats were exterminated. Cats were killed. In the one area where they were not, it was in Poland. they still maintained a very high cat population. And Poland did far better than its European counterparts with regards to the plague. So there's always been that connection. It's probably tenuous. I don't think it really had much to do with the virulence of the plague as it ravaged the European continent. But it's a funny thing to think about.
Well, I'll give you a couple more as I was sitting here thinking about it, and you may have heard some of these before. Cats certainly have that kind of reputation for being independent and mysterious, right? Hard to figure out, hard to crack. So it could be that seemingly independent and solitary nature, especially with regard to venturing out at night, right? So we've always, as a species, been kind of hypervigilant about the night, right? We're not very good hunters. We are not very good at night. We prefer to sleep at night, and so maybe with that, cats sort of add to the mystique or the possible association with the occult because they're out there, walking around, traveling around, despite the fact that what's out there is hidden to most humans. Right? We don't really know what goes on out there under the cloak of darkness. But cats seem to have a hidden knowledge.
And they have those eyes.
Yeah. Oh, the cat eyes. Don't even get me started with the cat eyes. I think that's cats can see in complete darkness, but thanks to their glowing eyes. Have you heard that one?
Yeah.
Cat's eyes do reflect light, but they don't actually glow. They're just reflecting light, right? They have unique adaptations with regards to night adaptation. Here's one that you're probably familiar with. I think I've heard you mention this before. In ancient Egypt, cats were highly revered and associated with the goddess Bastet.
Yeah, Bast.
Bast. Okay. Who was a domestic goddess and a fierce lioness. Cats were seen as protectors.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
So harming a cat, even accidentally,
was
result
punishable
in
by death. Yes,
which that might lead to the superstition that we sort of continue to sort of attach ourselves to this day, right? This idea that you have to be careful around cats. If a cat walks across the street in front of you, particularly if it's black.
Yeah, well, black is the most common cat color.
Makes sense. I think only 20% are orange, aren't they? Something like that.
Yeah, orange is that's a recessive gene. That's not something that's very common. Calico cats have to be female. Did you know that? Well, I think 1 out of every 10,000 calico cats is a male. So, I mean, you could sell them, I've heard, for like a lot of money. It's a weird thing. It's a weird gene.
I just thought about something. When we're doing the pagan rituals surrounding the harvest and Halloween and whatnot, we were talking about these shape-shifting creatures, right? And this idea that these people who walked among us, maybe they were part of someone's ancestry that come back to life on the Day of the Dead or whatever, or the Night of the Dead, the Night of the Harvest, and they can't take their bodily form, so they shape-shift into other animals. And one of the chief animals that they would shapeshift into was allegedly a cat.
Okay.
So perhaps that's one of the connections between witches and cats, is the idea that people or witches could shapeshift.
Yeah.
But there's certainly a lot of symbolism. Cats with their agility and nocturnal behavior. Probably seen as
they're not nocturnal. I can't remember the name of it. What is where they're active at dusk and dawn?
Biurnal.
Okay,
yeah. But that definitely suggests that they become symbols of transformation and magic. They're definitely good at cloaking and moving stealthily.
No doubt.
Not just at night, but I mean, they do it around my house. Like half the time, I don't know where they are. I don't know about yours, but mine like to hide. And
it's funny because they can do that. I mean, usually they're out and about, but there are plenty of times where we're just like, did the cat get out?
Yeah.
And there's not that many. It's not that big a house. They find places.
Yeah, they do.
They find places.
And no matter how small they are, I will say this: they are tiny but mighty. I mean, obviously, cats can. Other than a flea, I don't think anything's got a better standing vertical leap than a cat. And maybe other than a rhinoceros beetle, I don't think any of them's got the kind of strength and power that a cat has. But some other thing I was thinking about is they're natural contortionists too. Can you speak to that? I saw a YouTube video not too long ago.
Oh, yeah.
And the cat had managed to wiggle its way into this really tiny fish bowl. Now, there was no fish in it, thankfully. Probably the cat had already gotten it.
But it's, they...
And why do they do that, do we think? And how can they do that?
Well, they feel safe when they are in something like a cave, something that's covered, right? Because they're only looking out and they know that what is around them is secure.
Yeah.
So there's a safety element to it. I think it's very comforting for the cat. But their whiskers are really
sensitive, aren't they?
Yeah, they're really integral in allowing them to get into spaces that they might not otherwise think to get into. And you talked about the contortion of their spines. I mean, they're almost snake-like in how far they
like an
can
octopus,
bend.
right?
Yeah, it's something
really
else.
Kind of something else.
It's something else. They have a lot of superpowers, but that's certainly one of them. Their ability to get into and out of really tight, small spaces.
Yeah. Well, we've been going almost an hour, man.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll ask you. Do you see yourself owning any more cats?
I can. I don't know that they would be indoor cats, but I could see myself owning a couple more outdoor cats. I enjoyed them. I think I enjoyed them indoor or outdoor, but just given the nature of the cat I have right now, Fiji, and knowing how much he loves being outside, I feel like it's almost punishment bringing my cats inside. It's clear to me that these guys and gals, for the most part, would prefer being outside. I know it's dangerous for them out there and all that, but it's kind of like zoos. Do I put them in a cage? Do I bring them inside so that I feel better about their safety at the expense of maybe them not living their true authentic selves?
Here's what you can do. Here's what we did.
Yeah.
We ended up building a $10,000 screened-in porch to allow our cat. Oh, they love it too. They love being out there.
Yeah.
And we still have one, Brezel. He really wants to be outside, but
Nice.
we don't let him. He's
Scared he won't make it.
Well, I don't know. We picked him up from somewhere.
Okay.
So he'd
been out there before.
He'd been out there before.
Lost his chance.
Yeah. So we keep him. We keep him in. I tell you, when I knew I was, besides the $10,000, I knew that I was.
Well, come on,
addict.
you're enjoying the porch as well. Now, you didn't.
We did it for the cat. We did it for Brochin.
The hot tub and all that came later.
Hot tub came later.
Right.
Yeah, that came much later. We did it for Brochin.
How about that?
He loved it. He wanted to be outside so bad. He always wanted to catch a lizard would be on the back door.
Mm-hmm.
He'd freak out. So we let him in. One time a lizard got in, and it got into the bathtub. And my wife, I was at work. My wife's like, "This is your chance, brother. Here you go." And she put him in there with the lizard.
Oh my gosh!
This wimp. Oh my God!
What?
He
didn't even
did
go for
everything he could to get out of there.
Did he
And
really?
like when they're in a bathtub, they can't run
Yeah,
so he just
was sliding around.
he was sliding around, freaking out.
Well, you've heard that old saying before. What's the dog going to do when it catches the car?
Yeah.
So what's the cat going to do when he's in there with the lizard?
No, he had no interest in being that close to it. But I got to tell you, we had him for a couple weeks. I said, "This is when I knew I was in trouble."
Mm-hmm.
I got out of the shower one morning. I went to brush my teeth, and the kids weren't home. Nobody was home. I didn't have a towel. I was just air drying, sitting there brushing my teeth. Well, I guess when you're brushing your teeth, you're kind of shaking,
Yeah.
So not even thinking that there's a cat in the house, or even that if there were a cat in the house,
It wouldn't even be bothered. Yeah.
All of a sudden, I feel a pain writhing up my entire body. That cat came in
And clenched onto something.
it shouldn't have.
Oh,
It started to scratch my testicles, started to scratch the nuts. And
there you go, ladies and
and
gentlemen.
I didn't kill it.
Always put your underwear on first before you brush your teeth.
And I didn't kill it. And I knew at that moment, if I didn't kill this thing, then there must be a reason. I must actually enjoy the animal.
Good thing you don't bathe with catnip.
Oh,
That's
man.
all I can say. Wow.
So maybe you were right about getting him declawed. I still don't think so. I can't go that far.
Yeah.
But interesting stuff. All right, man.
All right, I think we'll leave it there. And, we certainly didn't talk about everything related to cats. I know some of you guys would probably want to talk about, again, what's it like trying to feed a cat, diagnose a cat, the expense of a cat, the kind of testing of the blood, the vaccines, all these kinds of things. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly so much more to explore, but we just wanted to make sure we came back and gave some equal time to the cat today.
Absolutely.
We both love cats. Our families love cats. Again, it doesn't mean we don't love dogs. I have dogs. My family loves dogs. I'll probably have dogs for the rest of my life. I can't speak for Nelson, but I love dogs and cats. I'm not saying in any way, shape, form, or fashion that you should go out and get yourself cats over dogs. I will say, however, the cats are smarter, and you'll have a much easier time.
Absolutely. And in honor of the late Bob Barker, please have your pets spayed and neutered.
Absolutely. Hey, we'll see you guys next time. You've been listening to Put 'em on the Couch, Cat Edition.